This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Well, hello there and happy Thursday. Welcome to episode 96 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, my friend Adrienne is joining me. She is the wedding planner behind Heart's Content Events and Design, and I'm so excited to have her on the show. I have known Adrienne, for probably over a year now, and I first met her and officially got to know her more in Raina Pomeroy's Fueled with Heart Facebook group, where we were both ambassadors last year and a little bit into this year. And she has just been such an amazing encourager of the podcast and myself. And when she told me about this new program that she has out, ways to make your marriage serve your business, to make your business serve your marriage, I knew I wanted to bring her on the show to talk about it, because even if you're not married, if you're in a relationship, if you have a long-time partner or whatever it is, I think it's really interesting to talk about kind of the intersection between entrepreneurship and being married or having a long-term partnership or just having another relationship with a person, because our entrepreneurial lives and our businesses can really be all-consuming at times. And I wanted to talk to her about just ways she has seen be helpful to other people when it comes to, like I say, making your business serve your marriage or your relationship. And so she agreed to come on and talk to us about that. And what we did was actually say, okay, so the title of the episode will be 7 ways to make your business serve your relationship or your marriage or your long-term partnership, whatever you want to call it, you guys, whatever you're in, everyone's different. And I love that. And she was like, great, I'll come up with 7 ways. And then what we actually did was have her husband, Josh, give us some tips or just ideas or thoughts from his perspective, which I do like to see 2 perspectives when it comes to a relationship. So he kind of wrote down some of his thoughts on each of these tips, and we talk about those during the episode too. So if you don't know Adrienne, she's just an amazing woman. She has such a heart for healthy relationships. And what I loved about this episode is that it's not advice. It's not a marriage advice show. That's not what this is at all. It is truly just born out of someone's personal experience, Adrienne's experience. And we just talk about these tips hey, here's something you might want to try or maybe not. So as always, take whatever works for you, leave the rest. Adrienne does chat about this amazing program that she has. She just finished a challenge over on her Instagram, and she talks about this amazing program that she has started if you're interested in that. So check out the show notes for that program. And let me tell you just a little bit more about Adrienne. I know you're going to love her as much as I do. She's the owner, planner, and designer and floral artist of Heart's Content Events and Design, located in Hampton Roads, Virginia. She and her wonderful husband, Josh, are marriage encouragers and seek to encourage other business owners to be better stewards of their marriage as they balance the growth of thriving businesses. Adrienne and Josh are blessed with 2 sweet kids, James, who is 2, and Nora, who is 10 months old, and their fur baby, Nina, a French Bulldog. Adrienne and the Heart's Content team thrive on celebrating marriage, families, loving others well, and sharing the importance of living lives full of grace and compassion for others. Yes, she's truly as lovely as she sounds, and I'm really looking forward to you hearing this episode. Let me know what you think of it over on Instagram. Find me at She Creates Business. And without further ado, let's go to the show. Adrienne, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kinsey. How's it going?
So good. So much better now that you are here. I'm so excited to have you. I know we've been going back and forth and trying to get this solved. I'm so happy. Thank you for your time.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I am just so excited to be here.
You are welcome anytime. Okay, so I gave everyone your professional bio there at the top of the show, so they know Adrienne, you're a wedding planner, tons of experience. But the title of today's episode, and I'm so excited to get into this topic, is 7 ways you can get and keep the support of your spouse while you're chasing your entrepreneurial dreams. And you are a huge encourager of marriage, especially in this entrepreneurial journey that we're on. And I would love for you to kind of take us through how you got interested in being a marriage encourager, specifically for, creative women.
Absolutely. So Truthfully, in my life, it really started as having a strong foundation. My parents always display the pillars of a meaningful and lasting relationship right in front of my sister and I all the time. And they actually are, they were marriage counselors, and they would do workshops throughout the entire world, actually, and is encouraging other people's marriages. So I really grew up in that environment, and having that passion for encouraging meaningful and lasting marriages. But a pivotal moment in my life that really spoke to me in trying to further my career, not only as a wedding planner, but also as a marriage encourager in this industry, is when my mother got sick in 2010 with a glioblastoma brain tumor in the thalamus. And I actually got to watch my dad live out everything that he's been preaching all over the world, like in sickness and in health, as long as you both shall live, as he stood by her bedside every single day, day in and day out, excruciating moment through excruciating moment. And that was just such an amazing thing to see, that all these words that they're preaching out in the world are real, and they're honest, and it's just the reality that this journey of marriage is. It can be difficult sometimes. It can be real, and it can be raw. It can be joyful. But the most important thing is that these two people love each other very much, and they're in it to win it. They're in it together no matter what. That's basically what those vows mean. And my husband and I have 4 years of experience being marriage encouragers. We not only do this on the side, but we also, not on the side as encouragers for other people throughout the community, but we also do this for our couples, and we also are starting to, we've really been led to encourage marriages, especially in the balance of married and business life, especially for women entrepreneurs, and how to bring their spouses into their world and become better stewards of their marriages while they balance the growth of a thriving business. So we are like really on fire for this, and we're actually launching an amazing service for creative business owners very, very soon. It's called Marriage Encouragement Sessions for Creative Business Owners. Essentially, it's a 2-hour intensive 2-on-2 session where Josh and I not only share resources and fundamentals on how to balance marriage and business, but have real, raw, honest dinner table-like discussions, if you will, to help encourage your marriage and leave you with the tools you need to better serve your marriage through your business. And we realize that balance doesn't always look the same for every single couple. And because of that, we handcraft a fully customized workbook that business owners and their spouses will work through together with us during our session, and doing so that provides the couples with a tangible resource of tips and tricks and actual processes that work just for them, and ensures their success as their relationship grows and as their business grows as well.
Mm-hmm. How did you find, you watched your parents go through this powerful experience. You saw them, traveling the world to encourage marriages, and then you become your own, an entrepreneur, a business owner, a wedding planner. How did you what was the journey like for you to see that there was a need for this in our industry? There was a need because, starting a business takes so much time. It takes so much of your time and your effort and emotional capital.
Amen.
Yeah. So when did you kind of start seeing that other creatives were in need of this?
I think I more saw it. You see, oftentimes you see the need for something in yourself before you see the need elsewhere. And I remember when I first started my business, and to preface this, Josh is probably the most left-brained individual that you will ever meet in the entire universe. And I was clueless as to how to bring him into my world, how to help him understand my way of thinking, the design world, the wedding world, why the change of the Instagram algorithm was devastating for me, and everything in between, and we sat down and had real, honest, raw conversations about what we need to do in order to better communicate with each other and better support each other, not only in our business, but in our marriage as well. So in creating those tips and tricks and these resources for us, we have developed the passion to encourage so many other creative business owners to do the same thing.
I love what you said. I wrote it down because when I asked you this, you said at the beginning, like, oftentimes we see a need inside of ourselves before we see that other people need it. I think that is so powerful. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I mentioned the title. We have and by we, I mean Adrienne. Adrienne has 7 ways you can get and keep the support of your spouse while you're on this entrepreneurial journey. And what I'm really excited about this particular interview is that her husband, Josh, has actually added his thoughts and his feedback to each of these tips as Adrienne's partner. And so we're going to go over kind of what he thinks about each of these tips too from his side of the relationship. And I'm just so excited for this dynamic and really looking forward to it. So if you're ready, I'm totally ready to jump right into the first tip that you have.
Yes, excellent, wonderful, great. Okay, so first things first, you always have to start with the foundations of marriage. And I always say, when you're trying to balance married and business life, communication is so key. It's so important. There are 4 pillars of a meaningful and lasting marriage. And you can use that in how you balance your business with your married life. And I always say that you can't have passion without intimacy. You can't have intimacy without trust. And you definitely cannot have trust without effective communication. But even more than just communication, it has to be transparent communication. Talking to your spouse about your business, and often it's just so important in the fact of just bringing them into your world and helping them understand exactly what you are going through. You have to be transparent about your goals for your business. You have to let them know if you have a launch on the calendar, let them know what it is so that they can promote it for you and that they can support you and wake you up in the morning and say, hey, honey, it's launch day. Be excited. And they can be excited and be a part of this journey of joys and turbulence and craziness of business life with you. They want to share those ups and downs in business life, and they want to support you emotionally in your business. And I understand that it can be hard sometimes to be a business owner, and sometimes it can feel so lonely, especially I talk to people all the time about social media and how you feel like you're yelling and yelling and yelling and yelling in a very saturated market. At the same people at the same time about the same things, just fighting for your voice to be heard. But at home, you have somebody who is ready and willing to hear your voice. So you should use those ears, and often. They're ready to support you emotionally through that. Now, in terms of communication, another thing that you can really do is communicate about time very often. You have to be prompt. If you say that you have an appointment or you say that you have a meeting, stick to that meeting as much as you can. Understand that every single business decision, every single time decision, every single decision that you make in your marriage or your business directly affects your spouse in some type of way. And you have to constantly be considerate of that. If something comes up at the last minute, a wonderful opportunity, we understand, and your spouse, I'm sure, will understand this too, that great opportunities come up all the time, but it's just so important to be open and honest and effectively communicate that, hey, this just came up. Is it okay if we push dinner back an hour, or if we table our date and put it on Saturday instead? Definitely don't make a big habit of doing that, but effective communication will definitely soften the blow when it comes to things like that, for sure. A lot of marriages can be so strained when spouses are not honest and transparent about finances. Always be honest about your finances. If you need help keeping your finances in order, ask your spouse for help. And also, it's truly helpful for them to discuss what you're bringing into the household, what you're bringing in your business, and also for the two of you to work together to determine what sales goals will be best to benefit your household. Josh had a really great point when it came to this, that it's so important to tell your spouse what you need, and that they're not mind readers. They can't read your mind. And oftentimes your spouse wants to support you, but may not exactly know how. This is so important. You have not because you ask not. And I've also found in our own relationship that Josh, although my dreams may be big and bodacious and may not line up with his very mathematical thinking, that him just knowing what they are puts his brain in gear as to what to do, as to what we can do together to make them happen. So that's my first point: communication. Talk openly and honestly and often about your business to your spouse.
That is so good. Okay, all of that great information. That little quote that you said, I think it was part of Josh's feedback for this first point, was like, you have not because you ask not. Like, you don't ask for what you need. And I totally forget that sometimes. I'm like, Derek, just read my mind. Like, no,
that's true. That's so true. And the honest thing is that I think especially a lot of newly married couples, they get married, they're in this emotional high, and they expect that their dream boat, their Prince Charming will be able to understand their every whim and know how they're feeling at every single moment. But the truth is that as soon as you get married, it's like the clock starts all over again, and you have to get to know each other in a completely different light than ever before. Even if you've lived together in the same house, it's completely different. And so it's just so important that effective communication is it's so important that you are constantly portraying effective communication, and that takes a huge part of the learning curve as part of the learning process and getting to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah. And I feel like too, so Derek and I, we've been together for 10 years. We've been married for almost, I guess we just had our 8-year anniversary. And so, but I feel like too. Oh, thanks. I feel like too, or do you feel like there is different types of communication for each season of marriage that you're in? Like, our communication was a lot different before we had kids. It was a lot different in our first year of marriage. And now that we kind of have a rhythm with each other, like you and Josh sitting down to say, hey, like, can we have these raw conversations about how we both need to be supported? I feel like that just takes practice, because you may not be. Well, I don't think we were self-aware when we were like in our early 20s. That's when we got married.
Oh, no.
We weren't self-aware enough to be like, excuse me, honey, like, let me tell you how I need to be supported. I feel like that just comes with age, and it comes with experience. Oh, yes. Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay. What's a tip number 2?
Excellent. So tip number 2 is use your spouse's skills. So your spouse may be beaming with lots of gifts and talents that, whether they're related or not, may be a great benefit to your business. So, for example, I have a wonderful friend in the wedding industry whose husband is a brilliant CPA. They're not in business together, but not only did he have a little bit of a passion for being behind the camera, so she taught him how to use the camera, and now he is her second shooter. But not only that, she used his brilliant CPA skills to be the CFO of her business, and he maintains all the financial aspects of her business as well. I think that's an amazing example for this. For me and Josh, when it came to me opening my business, Josh was an instrumental part of so much of the creative side of the business, more than a lot of people would even imagine. Like I said before, he is probably the most left-brain people, one of the most left-brain people that I have ever known in my entire life. But he actually came up with my business name, and he designed my first logo. He helps me with many wedding design decisions, and can even create a bridal bouquet if asked to do it.
Josh.
Yeah, I know, right? But here's the thing, though. Like, if I had not asked him for the help, then I would not have known that he was able to expand himself creatively and do those things.
Fair point.
Yeah, so I say all that to say that if you're not really sure about your spouse's hidden talents, or where even to start and how to expand your business to bring them in, just start small. Like I said before, often your spouse wants to support you but may not exactly know how, and using their skills in your business will bring you closer together and allow them to support you in a way that is fulfilling to your relationship. And Josh says, this is a really amazing point. Take about 5 minutes and brainstorm all the things that your spouse could be good at, and all of the unique attributes of your spouse. He or she may be a great writer or a great organizer. Maybe they're great at lifting things. Maybe they took a graphic design class in college and can help with brand imagery here and there. No matter what those talents are, encourage your spouse to use them. Doing so allows them to understand and come into your world, and make them feel valued as a partner on this journey you're on as a business owner.
Okay, Josh, mic drop.
I know. He's so insightful and so amazing.
Oh, you know what I loved about that was the beginning when he said, I really do love pragmatic things. And so when the beginning, he was like, hey, take 5 minutes and think of all of the creative attributes your spouse has, or your partner, whatever it is. Like, what do they like to do? And look at that, and how could it contribute to your business? So smart, and such an easy, quick thing to do. And, it's not something you need to take action on, like, right this second. But if you do that, meaning, like, you don't need to, like, bring them in tomorrow if you're not ready to do that. But if you at least, I feel like it gets you, like, creative ball rolling, so to speak, to think of ways to bring them in.
It's a great way to start small and just warm yourself up to it. That's something you can think about while you're driving, or if you're in the line at the bank or something. No one's in lines at banks anymore, right? But anyways,
wait, was I just at the bank? I don't know. I'm kidding.
I don't know. But just something that you can do while you're doing other things. Like, do I think that maybe Josh would enjoy something like this, or maybe I could seek his input on something like this, and just bringing them in on little tiny things, and that can expand to something even greater in the long run.
I'm loving this. I'm so glad you thought of, like, how to do this format. It's so awesome. And I like having Josh's insight into this, because I think it's really neat to see things from both sides.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hit me with number 3.
Number 3, make your spouse feel valued. This can be tied into that last point also, but it's always so important for your spouse to feel like they play an instrumental role in your relationship and in your business. Why is that important? Because your business is such a big part of your livelihood. It's your passion. Because of that, your spouse should desire to engage in that journey. And oftentimes, when I book a couple and I ask a groom what his opinion is, he often says, well, I don't know, I just have to show up. And then we all have a nice little awkward little laugh about it. But the truth is, it's so amazing about being on this journey with these couples is that without fail, as we continue on the process, even in the most subtle ways, the groom always has the biggest opinions on even the smallest of details. The same is true with your spouse. You, again, that brilliant saying that Josh had, you have not because you ask not. If you have a question about something, even if you feel like your spouse may not be the go-to person for this, go to them for it. And they may even be able to point you in the right direction. Josh has an amazing portion for this. He said, don't mistake your spouse's nonchalant manner for being uninterested in your business. Again, they love you, and believe it or not, they do want to support you, but may not know the right way to do it. Use those hidden talents, ask for their opinion and value, and keenly listen in on their input.
Yeah, that's a kicker. That's a kicker right there. If you're going to ask, listen to the answer.
Yes, so true, so true. And the truth is, in business, everybody has their opinions about how things should run, how things should be going, how your processes should be. And every business owner knows that whatever works for you, and there's merit to that. But the truth is that you have this life partner to support you in every single aspect of your life. So why not use that resource every time that you get the opportunity to?
I have a quick question. We are... How do you, and maybe we'll talk about this at another point, and if we do, just let me know that that's coming, and I'll skip this. But I feel like there's sometimes, at least I know in my own marriage, I can definitely over-communicate to Derek. Like, he does love me. He's the most supportive person I know, but he's also very, cool, Kinsey. I really can't talk about podcasting stuff anymore because... I need to go outside and do ranching man things, that he's interested in. And so what is do you find that that's common? And you know what I'm saying? What is the, what's the, I don't know. I mean, the threshold is different for everyone. So I'm not asking for it is. So I'm not asking for only talk about your business for 20% of the time, but, but what's your tip on hey, don't overwhelm people. I guess that would be more about being in tune with their emotions. I guess. Yes. I don't know. Tell me what you think.
Absolutely. I am going to touch about that specifically in a larger scape a little bit later on. But to answer that right off the top, I think you're absolutely right. Just as they need to be an emotional and spiritual and mental and everything in between support for you, you have to reciprocate and do the same for them. And so nobody likes to sit around in a room and listen to someone talk about themselves all the time. And your spouse understands that you are so excited about your business, so excited about everything that's going on, but it may be a bit overwhelming to hear all of that all at one time and trying to take in all that information all at once. And knowing them and really paying attention to those social cues, and that really has to do with intimacy. I always say intimacy doesn't necessarily have to do about sex or the physical aspect of a relationship, but it's literally translated as into me, see. You have to look into me in order to see who I am and see who you are and see who we are together. So being in tune with one another and watching those social cues and understanding who and understanding how they might react to hearing 25 minutes of information intensive information about your business may affect them or overwhelm them, could be. So yeah, that's so important. Always pay attention to those social cues, and always seek, just as you're hoping for support, always seek to support them as well.
Well, as you were saying that, I just got on Amazon to get a book about social cues. I'm kidding.
Good.
I'm kidding. Kids I need a book about social cues, apparently, because I do like to talk about myself. I'm sorry, Derek, if you're listening to this. I'll try to be better.
Derek.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What are we on? Are we on number 4 or are we on number 5?
Yes, we are on number 4.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. What's number 4?
Yay! Okay, so number 4 is to spend time with your spouse. My mom used to say this quote that I really hold near and dear to my heart, and it's, we make conscious and unconscious decisions every day regarding the people and things who matter most to us. I'm going to say this again because it's so important that you might want to write it down. We make conscious and unconscious decisions every single day regarding the people and the things who matter most to us. What that means in our marriage and our businesses is that balance is that you have to, and the marriage and business balance is that you have to be extremely intentional with your time and how you spend your time. When it's time to engage with your spouse, you have to establish that boundary with your business and turn off your phone, turn off your emails, turn off the laptops, turn off social media, and be present with them. No one wants to feel like they're being put on the back burner, and your business should be used as a vehicle to better serve your marriage, and not separate you from it. You must establish clear boundaries and have transparent communication to make sure that your spouse isn't playing second fiddle to your growing business. And Josh says that it's important to get together every month and establish at least one date night where you don't talk about business or work and just have fun and enjoy each other. Oftentimes, a supportive spouse is on the outside looking into the world of entrepreneurship, and not setting them as a priority can make them feel like even more of an outcast. Make time for just you two so that they are willing to help your business and not resent it.
That word resentment, I was kind of thinking of that in my mind. I feel like it can easily, I mean, if we were on the other side of it as the partner or the spouse, and they were interested in something that wasn't us or something we were not interested in, and they were dedicating a lot of time to it, I can totally see myself becoming resentful. Just being honest and trying to I feel like I could easily become resentful. And so that is something that Derek and I do, well, because Derek's really busy on the ranch and he kind of has the same thing, but so I feel like we kind of had practice with that before I even started my businesses, because he had that thing, that was taking up a lot of his time, and that was something that I had to learn. I love that. Did you get into Josh's point about that?
Yes. So that was his point where he was talking about getting together every month and establishing that date night. Yeah.
That's so good. So would you guys establish date nights? I'm curious what you do personally. Do you find that you are the one doing a lot of the date night planning? Does Josh contribute to that type of planning? Tell me about that.
I feel is starting to be 50-50 right about now. Cool. And I think like I said before, it's a learning curve. Yeah. It takes practice and to be in tune with what each other really wants to do. And sometimes you're just sitting on the couch and you're like, what do you want to do, honey? I don't know. What do you want to do? And it can feel like a never ending game, and totally. That can feel so frustrating. I can totally get it. I've been there completely. Josh and I have definitely been there, and it's completely okay. I think when it comes to date night and planning, just think about the things that you like to do in your spare time. Think about the things that your spouse likes to do in their spare time. Don't be afraid to engage in things that you may not have interest in, but your spouse has interest in, you investing time in those things is an investment in your relationship always. Letting them see that you are taking as much interest in what they love to do as they are taking interest in your business will, again, create that ring of reciprocity. See what I did there? And create the need and the willingness to support you in your business as well.
Yeah. Oh, the need and the willingness. That's great. This is good stuff, Adrienne. What's number 5?
Okay, great. Number 5 is give your spouse a sense of ownership in your business. For some people, you know what? With Grace and Gold, Kelly and Andra have a really cute name for their husbands. They call them the interns because they are willing and beautiful servant spirits, and they serve them and get coffee for them and help take care of their kids and their dogs and just really support them in everything regarding their business.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really cute. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give your spouse an exact name per se. You can, and it can be very cute. But it can even be as simple as a mention on your website, or even putting your spouse's picture up on your website and telling people just in maybe 2 sentences saying, this is my husband, this is my wife. They mean so much to me. You don't go through me without going through them first. That shows the world and shows your spouse that they are valued in your relationship, in your life, and in your business. That gives them ownership as part of your life as well. Doing something simple as that also lets them know, hey, I'm thinking about you, and you're just as big a part of this crazy, turbulent journey as I am. And even more so, it expresses gratitude to them for everything they support you to do in your business. That was a big thing that Josh said, that expressing that showing ownership expresses gratitude and encourages more willing service toward you as you venture in your career goals in your business.
I like that. Because we all want to feel appreciated, even in small ways. We don't want to be left behind or forgotten, or because even if we're not, even if our spouse or partner isn't involved in the business directly, they're still a big part of it, because what you're doing to do, what you're doing, like the time you're taking away, which is fine. I feel like, if you're building your business, the time you're taking away from your relationship or kids or whatever, they're still contributing to that piece.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I love this.
Amy and Jordan Damos do this amazing thing. And if you guys are listening, I'm really sorry if I pronounce this completely wrong, but they do something that is called Damos Incorporated. Yes. And so basically, no matter what the task is in their house, whether it be culling through a gallery, or they're wedding photographers, and whether it be culling through a gallery or washing the dishes or sweeping the floor, or any tour around the house, or doing the business finances, all those little parts make a huge difference and work towards the goal that is Damos Incorporated, work towards the uplifting of the business and of their relationship as a whole. Giving each other clear roles and encouraging each other as you fulfill those roles will help to develop that sense of ownership and pride in what you do.
So good. That's so cute. I love to hear what these other examples of what couples are doing. That's adorable. Okay, what's number 6? Okay,
number 6. Be appreciative. I cannot say this enough. Say thank you, say thank you, say thank you. And even when you feel like you've exhausted their eardrums with all the thank yous that you've given, give even more thank yous. My great grandma used to always say this, that if anyone does anything for you in life, the very least that you can do is show up and say thank you. That's the very least that you can do. One exercise that I hope everyone listening can start to begin to do, that Josh and I do, is that we write thank you letters, actually write out handwritten thank you letters to each other once every single quarter, and we read it aloud to one another. And yes, we bring out the tissues because I'm super emotional, and it becomes ugly, but it's really a emotional, real and raw, great moment that motivates us, because we're often our worst critic,
Yeah.
and it's really hard when, especially as business owners, you feel like I said before, you're in this journey alone, and to hear your spouse saying, I really appreciate that when this happened, or when you have this difficult client, or when you went through what you went through, that you stuck in there, and that really motivated me to continue on in my field and pursue my education and do things like that. I'm listing exact examples of me and Josh, and that is like really cathartic for your relationship and so emotional. It's definitely something that you should definitely do. Again, it ties right into that very first point. Communication and showing your appreciation for one another establishes trust, establishes intimacy, establishes passion for one another, and everything in between. So it's just so important that you share your appreciation with your spouse, and that, again, that ring of reciprocity, it just goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth all the time. Josh says saying thank you for any type of help, no matter how small, can really go a long way. And feeling appreciated is more likely to get your spouse to help you and encourage you in the future.
That's so good, especially if someone's love language is like words of affirmation. So
yes, that's totally me.
Right? Well, yeah, and that's my husband too. That's one of his. It does go a long way. Like saying, you don't always have to be like, you're the best, you're awesome, but even just saying thank you, like what you did was great. I think is words of affirmation. So that's so good.
Yes,
I can't believe we're to number 7 already.
We're at number 7, and I'm so sad.
I know. I feel like I have been counseled by you and Josh on this call. It's so good.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's number 7? Tell me.
Cool. Okay. Number 7 is, we touched on this just a little bit, but always start small. Josh says when asking your spouse to take part in your business, you have to start small. If you're a wedding planner, don't ask them to do a whole wedding with you the first time through. Start with napkin folding. Go from there and get them acclimated, and stop them from feeling overwhelmed in the big picture. Just like we were talking about your example, if you feel yourself talking a lot about your business and talking about a lot about this and that, then watch their social cues and watch how they are reacting, or maybe feeling like, okay, I need a little bit of a break, and feed onto that. Always be cognizant of how the other person is feeling at all times. If you just came from an amazing conference, don't rush home and bombard them with all the things that you've learned right out the gate. Instead, you need to take time to process all the information yourself, but you also need to ease them into the excitement, especially while maybe even doing a fun activity together. And that's a really perfect way to what Josh and I call dream sessions, to start incorporating that into your daily life. Dream sessions for us aren't a thing that are necessarily planned out. We may just be hanging out together or doing something fun or hanging out with our kids. And I might come up with a cool design idea, and I just ask Josh's opinion, and we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on that. And those dream sessions, those discussions, in a non-pressure setting can not only promote so much creativity on your end as a business owner, but can also establish ownership and establish the feeling that your couple's opinion, your spouse's opinion is so valued in your business decisions. Like I said, Rome. People always say this, Rome was not built in a day, and marriage and life balance is not either. And these tips and tricks are proven to work, but they take time and lots of practice to get even close to being right. Yeah. If you're not getting on that same page, or you're not achieving the balance that you would hope for just yet, you have to keep at it. You have to think of your marriage like a muscle, right? You train with cardio and weights at intervals, and then you evaluate your strength to build on more rigorous workouts as you go. And sometimes you feel tired and you feel like giving up, but the investment you spend on your body, or in this case in your relationship, will make such a huge difference in the long run, and will ultimately help fuel the passion in your relationship and help you become a better steward of your marriage.
So good. And I think too, one of the things, this is a lot, like 7 tips is a lot. And I truly believe, like, after being with Derek for 10 years, I don't think that, it's not, obviously every relationship is different, and there's not a one size fits all thing. And I think one of the most important things, especially after hearing all these 7 tips, is not all 7 apply to every marriage. Like,
absolutely.
Like Derek and I, we communicate a lot. That is where we fit that bill a lot. But I can't really see an instance where I'm going to bring him into my wedding business. So I don't really need to, you know what I mean? Like, that's just not our relationship. We're interested in different things. And so there's no room there for me to practice. Like, I don't need to try to bring him into wedding days or anything like that. But if you do see that in your relationship, and if you do see that in your marriage, I think that's such a cool thing to be intentional about if you're ready for it. And, but like, practice makes perfect. I feel like, Adrienne, you and I both, when we talked about like doing this topic, I feel like we were both interested in just being like, hey, here's some encouragement for you. Like, take this, like, take what you want, leave the rest, and like do with it what you will, because you know your relationship the best. Do you feel that way too?
Absolutely, 100%. Every single couple is completely different. And yes, Kinsey, I want to kind of backtrack a little bit, because you made such a valid point in terms of your relationship with Derek being completely different, that you may not bring him into your wedding business or into the business with your venue, but maybe a couple is coming to visit your venue, and they may ask you some questions about the ranch. He has a bounty of knowledge on that. So definitely, even though you feel, or anybody feels like that something may not completely apply to them, there are little bits and pieces of things that you can bring into your relationship and into the marriage and business balance that you're trying to achieve, for sure.
I agree. And I think that's part of, girl, I feel like I have done my education on ranch stuff. And I better be able to answer those questions, or Derek will be upset. Just kidding. I am kidding. That's such a good point. And I have had to ask. I've been like, Derek, how many acres are here? I don't know.
Yes, that's great. Awesome.
This has been so much fun. I'm so happy that you're doing this. I can feel your excitement and your encouragement and your passion for marriage. And I also want to tell you, thank you for sharing that story about your parents. I know that that's a hard story. Not hard, but it is hard, like, and personal and intimate. And I thank you so much. You are awesome. I just love you.
Thank you, friend. I love you too. Thank you for having me here. I am so thrilled that we got the chance to connect and chat with one another and get to know each other and do this talk. I'm just so pumped.
Me too. I am going to include everything about Adrienne's program that she talked about at the beginning. She sent me some stuff so I can make sure I get that in the show notes. Chat with her. I can't think of anyone better to just encourage you and uplift you. And also, don't forget to tell Josh thanks for being part of this interview too.
Yes, always 10,000 times. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Josh, if you're listening, thank you.
Josh, thank you. You're awesome. Thanks for being here in spirit.
Yes.
Where can everyone find you online, Adrienne?
Awesome. So you can find me at www.heartscontentevents.com. That is my website. And if you want to follow along my shenanigans on Instagram stories or just Instagram in general, that is at Hearts Content Events, just like that. And feel free to follow and leave me a line and comment. I actually leave long comments and really engage with people and ask people questions and things like that. So feel free to just join along on the journey, and hopefully I can be a blessing in your marriage and your business as well.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.